Barry Somerville. Top 100. Barry Somerville. Top 100. He's got a voice that's really the bomb. He'll make a choice that'll aggravate Tom. I hate to spoil it, but when all's said and done, Merchant of Venus gonna be number one.
You know, weird things happen at conventions. This is table P1, which is on a webcam and has a Twitter account. Don't ask. Here are number 30 to 21.
Number 30, more points for me.
Number 30. Xa! Legends of a Drift System. What? Number 29.
Stop.
What? What? What is wrong? What?
Xia, Legends of a Drift System, is, it's an exploration game. I mean, I don't think it's boiled down into a pick up and deliver game, but that's only one aspect of this thing. This is often called a sandbox game because there's lots of ways to earn victory points. You can pick up and deliver from one planet to another, pick up those goods, store them in your ship, and take them where they need to go. But there's also ways to attack your opponents, attack NPC ships that fly around. You get points for being daring in your exploration, taking risks. Anytime you have to roll one of the D20s, a D20 die for risky behavior that could, blow you up. But if you get a 20, you score a point. I love the pick up and deliver. This is certainly the primary draw for me. But the fact that you have lots of other things to do in this game is also a draw. The components in this, for Far Off Games' first release, this was really well done. It's got metal coins inside, pre-painted miniature ships, just an attention to detail that was really a love of the product and a love of gaming, and just really hit it out of the park for a first release. I have not had a chance to play the expansion yet, but it is in the collection. I have to figure out how to fit it in this box. I know there's a way to do it. But anyway, Xia, Legends of a Drift System, no matter how you say it, is a blast, and my number 30.
29.
Logistico.
Hey, remember that pick up and deliver thing I was talking about just a second ago? Logistico is one of the purest forms of that whole system. You've got discs, you've got cubes, they have the same color, and you have to get them to go together. One's representing demand, and one is the goods that you're picking up. You then have a plane, and a boat, and a truck, and you load those cubes up and drive them around these multiple continents, over bridges, through waterways, and try and match up the cubes and the discs to earn points. The later the game goes, the more those deliveries are worth. There's also some bonus areas to hit. I love it. It's minimalist for sure. The board, I can see it right here. There's not a whole lot to look at there. It's a bunch of maps, a bunch of islands. Even the plane doesn't even have wings. It's just like the fuselage of the plane. But I love it. Mechanically, it's super fun. There is a risk because you're spending money to hold on to these cubes from round to round. You can actually go backwards on the score track, but you start with like 40 Logie, $40 to start out the game. I'm sure you'll be fine. And then most money wins at the end of the game. It's great. It's a blast. If you love pick up and deliver and want to explore that mechanism some more, this is one of the purest forms of that mechanism, Logistico. My number 29.
Number 28.
King of Tokyo and New York.
King of Tokyo and King of New York are basically the same system. King of New York is a slightly more complicated version. There's an extra sort of layer of rules, but they have the same general feel. You're rolling dice in a Yahtzee mechanism. You get the 2 re-rolls. You can keep dice that you want to keep, and then you resolve the symbols, attacking your opponents, or in the case of King of New York, you're attacking the indigenous population, the tanks and military installations, and then powering up your creatures, getting stronger abilities, nice synergistic abilities, healing if you can. It's terrific fun, silly fun, and can be punishing. There's player elimination here, but the game moves very quickly, and even my kids getting knocked out doesn't seem to bother them that much because it's so light, it's so it's so silly, that they sort of understand that the roll of the dice, it can happen. Bad stuff can happen. They can get knocked out. King of New York is, I think, my favorite of the two, not just because I'm a Newsies aficionado. Let that sink in. I think I enjoy the slightly more deep mechanisms in King of New York. It is a sort of a distillation of the system. It's an advancement of the system. But both are great. And a wonderful choice for families of emerging gamers or family game days. This has been quite the success at, family gatherings with my parents and aunts and uncles and cousins. And also a great gift. I always love introducing this to, my kids' friends. Really, really worth it. King of Tokyo and King of New York, number 28.
Number 27. Ah!
Legendary.
Number 27, I'm having a bit of a storage issue with. I've outgrown the original box of Legendary, and that's where the board came from, and the rule book, and now I've got all the cards in these two boxes, and these are nice. I like the look and these I can handle. I may need to upgrade to something, or get one of the editions. There are some editions that I don't have that have the roll-up map. I'll figure it out. Still, Legendary is a blast to play, and it's one that's seen some resurgence in this house because of the Marvel theme. My kids have enjoyed playing it, so I've been able to lay out a series of heroes, bring out the Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, and play through an adventure with a villain. You are building a deck of SHIELD agents and superheroes and trying to defeat some sort of big bad. And with all of these cards, there is a tremendous amount of possibilities, tremendous number of combinations between schemes and villains. And your hero deck, you pick 5 heroes to go in there, and those are your team members for the adventure. So it's seeing a lot of play recently in my house with the kids, and once I figure out a big box option to put it all in, because this isn't even everything, it would be a little bit easier to bring out. However, Legendary is a terrific option for bringing out with families. Here we go, here's a nice cover shot, Dark City. And I tremendously enjoy playing it. I do play straight co-op. With these systems. I know there are some heroes that sort of give you points, that are built to earn you points over your fellow players, but we just tend to play it straight up co-op. Do we win? Do we defeat the bad guy? It's just the simplest way to play. And maybe there's other Legendary versions that I like a little better. Still, Marvel Legendary is a great game. And it's my number 27. I'm going to put this down.
26!
That was weird.
Indonesia.
Number 26 isn't a whole lot to look at in the cover. It's Indonesia. This is a Splotter title, and one of those deep ones that's going to take you some time to play. You have a map of Indonesia. You are building farms, basically, with different goods, and every time you activate these farms, they're going to expand and sort of gain board position, become bigger, produce more. There are then cities that want these things that are being produced on the board, and there are also shipping companies that travel and take these things to the cities that want them, and those cities can expand. They if they get everything that they want, then they get bigger, and their demand increases. Now they want 2 of everything, and then they may want 3 of everything, but then some new, oil good shows up, or the spice and the rice combine to become microwave meals, siap faji, and now the demand shifts. This is one of those that, it's just much like lots of Splotter titles. Small actions can cascade and have global reaching effects in this game. It's a little tricky to get a hold of. It's a little tricky math-wise. I have certainly played this with calculators just to calculate what the bids are, because you may have to go up by 7s or go up by 9s, and that's sometimes a little tricky just to keep going. But I think it's worth it. It's a very crunchy game. It has some tough decisions. When do you jump in? When do you merge companies? When do you try and bid on these companies? but it's pretty neat. Indonesia, number 26.
25. Roll for the Galaxy.
Number 25 defeats its older brother. I like this system better. Roll for the Galaxy is the dice version of Race for the Galaxy. It has the same general concept. You're building a tableau of planets and developments, but it uses a dice mechanism that sort of mitigates your luck a little bit. You still have that action selection thing. Everybody chooses one action to lead in a particular round, and you will also trigger what everybody else triggers. And the way you can always pick any one of these selections that you want, any one of these actions, no matter what you roll. But then you're also sort of aligning your dice that you did roll into action triggers for the rest of the round. So if I may not roll the develop action symbol, but I can still choose develop if I really want to do develop. And then I may line up a bunch of dice on this settle action, where I'm settling a planet. I may roll 3 of those, and I know he's going to choose settle, so then I'll get 3 activations of settle. Unless he doesn't choose settle, and nobody else chooses settle, and then those 3 dice don't get used this round. I think they cycle back into the cup. There's a sort of recover mechanism for it. But you're cycling these dice, you're gaining more as you settle more planets, getting more specialized dice into your cup. I love that. That mechanism really is what makes this game for me. What you're doing behind your screen before you reveal, and fiddling with those dice. If I do them this way, and you can trigger abilities that turn the dice and change the dice and move the dice around. It's so much fun. I love it. Roll for the Galaxy beats the big brother, and it's my number 25.
24.
Pathfinder adventure card game.
Number 24 is the Pathfinder adventure card game. Note that I'm trying not to tilt it too far, because this isn't really a box that you want to set on its side. In fact, hang on a second. Let me open this up for you, because here we go. So inside, you've got all these different character decks, adventure decks, that you work your way through. Pathfinder Adventure Card Game is a game that sort of emulates the Pathfinder role-playing game, and you send characters represented by decks to different locations trying to find the big bad. You have to search through, you might find items, armor, cool things that you want to acquire, and you succeed at checks in order to gain those things, and then you'll find monsters and hopefully find the henchmen and eventually the big bad, and defeat that particular scenario. As you do this, you are adding these items to your deck. You have maybe only a 15, 16 card limit in your deck. And so when you gain something cool, that means you also have to ditch something cool out of your deck for the next adventure. Those decisions are tricky, and I love this whole system. So this lovely divider has all the characters and the items that you'll run into, and they're all divided by armor and weapon and nasty traps and stuff like that. So you build these decks for the different locations, and then when you're done, you reset your decks for your different characters, and when you reach the end of a story arc, you break into another one of these packs. The only downside is that this is really all the game I need right now. There is not only Rise of the Rune Lords, there's I think 3 other base sets for Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, which is great if you are able to play through all this stuff, but my kids and I have not been able to work our way through this yet. Still, it's been a few years. I love the system. It just fascinates me. It's like a finely tuned watch that I'm just excited to meddle with. And having the adventures and making our characters better and wondering if we're going to survive the ghosts that appear in this particular scenario. It's a fantastic game. Just don't turn it on its side. The Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, number 24.
23.
Size.
Number 23 is the highest game on the list to not actually be in my collection, and every time I put together an order at Cool Stuff or see it in the store, I'm so close to getting Scythe. This is a lovely, gorgeously illustrated game with a system, again, that just clicks. Once again, much like Terra Mystica or many of the other economic games that I really enjoy, you've got this mat that represent your faction, and each one's a little different. They operate differently, so every time you play, you're sort of working with different levers and different efficiencies, and these represent the actions you can take, and you can make these actions better, less expensive, more effective, wider reaching, as you adjust them through the course of the game. You're gaining resources from the board, protecting those resources. It's got an interesting resource system where you don't actually get to use, you don't claim the resources until you use them. So even if you've produced and are guarding like a giant cache of resources, someone can come and just take them if you don't protect them properly. Although it looks like a big miniatures battle game, and you certainly need to have military superiority to earn certain points and to protect yourself, it's not the sole focus of the game. In fact, the focus is a little more like some other games I enjoy in that you have certain goals to achieve, and the first player to reach a certain number of those goals will win. Some of them are military, but you can only earn 2 points for defeating opponents in that manner. You have to do other things. You have to focus on technology. You have to focus on other goals. And that I find fascinating. It's a gorgeously produced game. Whether or not you get the deluxe version, although the deluxe version is really, really nice. Scythe, so pretty. So pretty. And my number 23.
22. Oh no, not again.
Food Chain Magnate.
Is that the Food Chain Magnate theme song?
Yeah!
Okay, let's go the other direction. We just talked about Scythe having a beautiful board. Food Chain Magnate does not. But I think if it had a prettier board, if it had a more detailed board, it's a very basic board. It looks like this is almost MS Paint territory. Very stark board. If it had more, though, you wouldn't be able to understand what's going on, because there are a lot of levers to push in Food Chain Magnate. You are running a food empire. You can be making pizza, you can make burgers, you can deliver sodas, lemonade, beer. You need to secure your supply chain, make the food, secure the drinks, but also advertise to customers so that they'll want to buy that stuff. In fact, until you have customers, you're not making any money in your food chain empire. But this is much like other Splotter titles, one where a small action can cascade into unintended consequences. You may advertise lemonade to a block of houses and then realize that you're not going to earn any money selling lemonade to those people because this guy's closer, or he's selling the lemonade for less money. He has lemonade when you haven't built your production enough. And that's the delicious difficulty of Food Chain Magnate. You're not going to do well on a first play. Although I did beat Jason Levine in my first play, so maybe that's not true. Anyway, don't feel bad if your head spins at the beginning, because of those unintended consequences. It's tricky to sort of get the flow of how this game works. But once you're there is a lot of crunchy exploration in here. Metaphorically, you don't actually explore. Anyway, Food Chain Magnate, well worth that delicious meal of exploration. And it's my number 22.
21. Agricola.
For some, other Uwe Rosenberg games have overshadowed Agricola, but not for me. I still love the farming theme. I like building your family, starting with that narrative of just the two farmers at the beginning and growing a family, building your house. Getting that hand of cards at the beginning and trying to figure out how you're going to take different professions and actions and improvements and turn that into your farming empire. It's an action selection game. You've got the whole array of possibilities that grow throughout the course of the game. And those actions become more powerful. Some of those later actions show up. And you're competing with your opponents, trying to pick the right time to claim some of those actions. Timing's very important in this game. And it's also a very different game with a fewer number of players than with the maximum 5 players. You can play a little bit more with the timing when you're playing with just 2 or 3 and let resources build up and then choose a time to pounce. Usually with 5 players, somebody's always going to grab those lucrative caches of resources. It's a puzzle every time you play Agricola. Like, here are my cards. How am I going to turn these into victory? And that's a challenge I adore. So while I would love to explore some of Uwe Rosenberg's other games, this one's still top of the mountain for me. Agricola, my number 21.
Yep. There's the Twitter account. So who knows what it'll say after the con is over. We'll see you next time.
He's got a voice that's really the bomb. He'll make a choice that'll aggravate Tom. I hate to spoil it, but when all's said and done, Merchant of Venus gonna be number one. Every summer, top one.